All right, welcome everybody. I note that it's just 7 o'clock, so I want to welcome everyone. And I wish to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Tumtumay-Waitan or Valterra is home to an ancestral village of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. We're thankful to conduct our work within their territory. So I'll call to order the meeting at 7:01 p.m. So, and I'll just let people know that we're going to have a break at about 9 o'clock, and it will be about 10 minutes so people have a chance to use the washroom, take a little bit of a break. So number 2, the approval of the agenda. The regular council meeting, May 10th, 2021. Looking for a mover and a seconder, please.
So moved.
Second.
Drake and Clark, the motion's on the floor. And that the agenda for the regular council meeting, May 10th, 2021 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on the matter, council? Okay, seeing no discussion from council, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I note that it is unanimous. Thank you.
Your worship, I would just ask Councillor Wilder if she can to put her camera on.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You may go ahead. I just
Okay.
to mention that.
Okay, number 3, 3.1, the public hearing, April 26, 2021. Looking for a motion that the minutes from the public hearing held April 26, 2021 be adopted. And
So moved.
Councillor Clark, thank you moving it. And Councillor,
I'll second.
thank you, Councillor Drake seconding. So it's on the floor for adoption. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, call the question. Council?
Aye.
I note that it's unanimous. Motion carries. So, and 3.2, that the regular council meeting of April 26, 2021, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held April 26, 2021 be adopted. Looking for a councillor to move it and a councillor to second it. I have
So
Councillor
moved.
Clark moving, Councillor Drake seconding. It's on the floor for a discussion by council. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I note that it's unanimous. Okay, at this point, we are coming to delegations and presentations. So I am just going to state for the record that I'm not entitled to participate in the discussion of this matter or to vote on it because I have a direct pecuniary interest in the matter and because I am a member of a group wharf association that is the subject of a legal action. So having declared that conflict, I will recuse myself from this part of the meeting and the deputy mayor will take over. So Councillor Clark, and I understand now you will put me in the waiting room and I will come back when this matter is concluded.
Thank you, Mayor Ross.
Okay.
Thank you. Hala, could you put Mayor Ross in the waiting room, please?
And Councillor or Deputy Mayor Clark, I would just advise that Councillor Wilder's camera isn't working, but she is in attendance. She just sent me a message.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we'll move on to delegations and presentations. So under 4.1, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ben Shulastani, making a delegation on behalf of Mr. Esmail Shulastani regarding a presentation on private use of a municipal road right-of-way. Ben, are you ready? Oh,
hello,
perfect.
can you hear me?
Oh,
okay?
yeah, I can hear you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I just have some housekeeping items before we begin the presentation.
Okay.
First, I wanted to know whether I could share my screen so I could display the presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
Okay.
can? Okay.
Once you start sharing your screen, you let me know when you're ready, and
Okay.
you will have 10 minutes, okay?
So let me first actually get this organized. So how do I share my screen? Just want to.
Well, that's okay. Paula can show your presentation.
I can, but it
Mr.
says the host
Shulistan.
disabled. It just says host disabled participant screen sharing. That's what it says.
Okay, so Ben, we are going to ask Paula to share the screen.
Yes,
And what I'm gonna need for you, as you want her to change pages, you just let her know, okay?
Okay, but then may I then kindly request that you basically accommodate additional time considering this pace of changing a slide, just because that would could create some inconsistency between where I want to say something and the page that Paula could be in. So I will just tell, so you want me to tell Paula to change the slides to the next page? So I
just say next, yes.
next, okay, I will do that.
Let's start with 10 minutes, see where you're at, and then if necessary, I'll add a couple of minutes, okay? Because you have a lot of items to go through the agenda, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I'll let you know the timing, all right? I'll keep you updated on timing.
Thank you.
Okay, you can go ahead. Once we start sharing the screen, then you tell me you're ready, and I'll start timing, all right? So we don't waste any time.
And Mr. Shulistani, would you advise who's on your screen with you?
Hello, everyone. I just want fairness. I want the same as what others have, nothing more. The photos I have provided to the council in support of my request say everything. Unfortunately, the photos were not included in the agenda, but I trust the council will give us time to show the photos. Thank you.
Thank you. Behind me is a private sign attached to the existing staircase access fronting our property, 3762 Marine Avenue, which was in use for over 50 years. The Village Council granted a permit and an HEA to maintain this staircase in 1995. We immediately insured the staircase after moving into the property in 2016. The insurance protected the village with $2 million liability. I'm making this presentation in support of my father's request from the council to restore his access to the existing stonewall platform fronting his property, 3762 Marine Avenue. Next page. Here is the outline of my presentation. I will show the location or uses and history of the existing staircase and stonewall platform. Then I will go over the relevant village authority, namely policy 137, and the many precedent accesses granted by the council relying on this authority from 1995 to present, including the HEA granted to the owner of our property, 3762 Marine Avenue, to build, use, and maintain the same access my father is requesting today. Finally, I will establish that my father's request is more than fair and reasonable by showing evidence, namely photos, that all Marine Avenue properties have access to the water. I will also present my father's hardship, including statements from his physician and cardiologist supporting his application. I verily believe that my father's request is justified and must be granted. Next page, please. This photo shows the location of the insured existing gated staircase access to the stonewall platform fronting our property, 3762 Marine Avenue, before we moved to Belcara in 2016. The circles show our property sign, the realtor's advertisement, and the gated staircase in front of it. Next, please. Here is a copy of our certificate of insurance, which was provided to the village of Belcara, which shows that the village was protected as an additional insured with $2 million liability insurance. Next, please. Here is a satellite image of the same location. The staircase fronting our property starts from Marine Avenue and ends on the stonewall platform. This is the access my father is seeking to be restored. The staircase access is based above the high water mark and is completely within the village jurisdiction, thus the existing moratorium does not apply. Next, my parents will be using the staircase to rest and enjoy views of the Bedwell Bay, swim near the shore, and boat. Next, please. This photo shows the entrance to the gated staircase access. Next, please. This photo shows my parents enjoying the views of the Bedwell Bay. My mom is pointing to the private sign attached to the existing staircase in use for over 50 years. As you can see, the stone wall platform is completely natural and is made of stones. There is no environmental impact. The staircase that lands on the stone wall platform is also to be replaced with sustainable materials. Next, please. Here is a close-up look at the private sign attached to the bottom of the staircase, which shows that this staircase was dated 50 years ago. So it was in use for over 50 years. Next, please. Here we are gathering and socializing at the beach. As you can see, you can also see our inflatable boat beside us. Next, please. Here you can see my mom and I enjoying boating at Bedwell Bay. This is what she wants back. Next. This photo shows me and my father enjoying swimming next to our stonewall platform. Next. This photo shows my father relaxing at the existing stonewall platform next to the existing staircase.
Your time is paused for a bit, okay?
Thank
You
you.
ready to go on, to continue?
Mr. Shulistani, do you have any more to say?
I do. Sorry, I just.
It's okay, I paused your time for a bit, but I'm gonna put it back on, all right?
Thank you. Yes, this is the access that my father is asking to be back. Next page is the policy 137 that the village authority that my father is relying on. Sorry, we need a moment.
Mr. Shulistani, do you want to go on with your presentation?
Hello.
The time is on, okay? You have four minutes and 40 seconds to wrap it up.
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, my brother got a bit emotional displaying what was taken away from my father. So I'm going to take over his presentation. I appreciate the council's understanding of
Okay, on our
this
screen,
situation. Thank you.
on our screen right now is the private use of a municipal road right-of-way.
Thank you. Yes, this is a policy 137 that is a village authority that my father is relying on. Next
And
page, please.
who are we speaking to now?
This is John Shulistani.
John Shulistani, would you put
Yes.
your picture up, please?
Thank you.
John,
I'm not sure how to.
Just say next page and we'll change it.
and please
Sure.
come.
I can. Unfortunately, I don't know how to.
All you have to do is ask.
Know how to start it. Okay, maybe I could.
There you are.
All right. Thank you. So, next page, please. Yes, pursuant to policy 137, our access will not compromise the state of principle. The use of the staircase will be the same as the use of the grandfather staircase by the owners of our property for over 50 years. The request is also consistent with the precedent cases. Next page, please. Our access will not impede public access. There is no public beach access at or near the access point. No other property owners are affected. Adjacent properties have access to Bedwell Bay through a staircase and docks. Our access does not create any traffic or parking issues. Next page, please. Our access will not unduly expose the village to risk. the staircase will be fully insured, naming the village as additional insured. Our access will not create a safety concern. The staircase will be professionally built by a certified contractor. Next page, please. And here again is a copy of the $2 million insurance certificate that we will provide to the village, which protects the village as an additional insured. Next page, please. In January 2018, my father suffered a major heart attack and was hospitalized for more than 3 months. As per his cardiologist assessment report, he has a risk of sudden cardiac death. Moreover, he is experiencing significant symptoms of stress that may contribute to another heart attack. To reduce his stress as much as possible, his primary care physician recommended that the village help him to return to a lower stress environment and do things that are pleasurable and relaxing. My mother is a senior nurse who has developed long-term disability as a result of heavy workload for over 40 years. She can only walk with assistance. Next page, please. Furthermore, there is no public facility near or fronting our residence. There is no public access to the water near or fronting our residence. In fact, there is nothing near or in front of our residence that could be used by the public. There are only private wharfage accesses near or in front of our residence that are used by Marine and non-Marine Avenue residents to which we have not been granted access. We had one grandfathered private step access to our Stonewall platform occupied and maintained for over 50 years, which we use regularly since we moved to Belcarra. Therefore, we have a strong case to be granted a highway encroachment agreement to access our existing Stonewall platform. Next page, please. Here are some precedent cases. In 1995, the village granted HEA to our property, 3762 Marine Avenue, to build a staircase to access the beach. Next page, please. In 2003, the village granted HEA to 4116 Marine Avenue to build a similar staircase to access the beach, relying on the policy 137. Next page, please. In 2012, the village granted HEA to 4036 Marine Avenue to build a similar staircase to access the beach. Next page, please. In 2014, the village granted HEA to 4092 Marine Avenue for a similar staircase to access the beach after change of ownership. Next page, please. This is the village official zoning map 1996 showing the designated water access for our properties 3762 Marine Avenue, lot 10. Next page, please. This is a port plan 1999 showing the designated water access for our property 3762 Marine Avenue, lot 10, designated by the port and the village in 1999. Next page, please. Here are photos of a similar staircase fronting 3424 Marine Avenue before it was renovated without a permit or an HEA. Next page, please. Here is a photo of the same staircase after renovation, again, without a permit or an HEA. Next page, please.
John, can we pause just for a bit? So the 10 minutes is up. I'm going to give you an additional 3 minutes to wrap it up, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you. This photo shows that all properties on Marine Avenue have private access to the Bedwell Bay in one form or another. As you are aware, the dock fronting our property was assigned to our neighbor, former Mayor Drew, and we have not been granted access to the dock. So my father is seeking to restore his staircase access to the beach. Next page, please. Next page, please. One more, please. Thank you. This photo, I appreciate if Paula could click through the next images slowly to show that what my father is seeking is just fair, and he asks to please treat him the same as other Marine Avenue residents. As you can see, all properties on Marine Avenue have private accesses to Bedwell Bay in one form or another. Many properties on Marine Avenue not only have private docks, large decks, gazebos, storage sheds, canoe and kayak racks, ladders, etc., but also have separate steps that directly connect to the water of the Bedwell Bay in addition to the steps that connect to the private docks. The properties on Marine Avenue that do not have docks have both decks and separate steps that directly connect to the water of the Bedwell Bay in addition to the steps that connect to the private decks. If there is a property on Marine Avenue without a dock or a deck, that property has separate steps that directly connect to the water of the Bedwell Bay at the very least. Not only Marine Avenue residents, but also many non-Marine Avenue residents, including the majority of current and former village council members, have private access to the Bedwell Bay. The only property on Marine Avenue that needs access to the beach is our property, 3762 Marine Avenue. These are just a few examples among many other properties who have built access to the water with or without an HEA. There are many more properties on Bedwell Bay Road or Turtle Head Road that have built similar access to the water through the municipal road ends without HEA. Our property had an HEA. Finally, I just want to remember what my father said. I just want fairness. I want the same as what others have, nothing more. This is absolutely fair and honest. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Right on money. Thank you. All right, so if you can stop sharing the screen, thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go to council for any questions you may have for John or Ben or Esmel. Anybody on council? Going once, going twice. Okay, so I'll turn over to the gallery.
Your worship, I think a motion is in order.
Okay, so who would like to move the motion for me?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Thank you. I'll move that the presentation made by the Shulastanis be received for information and that staff be asked to report back to council on this matter.
okay, thank you, Bruce. Any seconder? I'm looking for a seconder. Okay, Councillor John Snell second. All right. So we'll go for discussion. Anybody on the gallery? Yes, go ahead, Sherry, please.
Thank you. I would like to just voice my support for the family, the Shulastani family. And if there's something that might help, my suggestion might be that you consider making it a public access, and maybe the village could put it in and make sure there was railings and all that. And it would be for all of the villagers and as well as the Shulastanis. And so it could be a win situation for everybody in the community as well as the Shulastanis. And it seems quite reasonable to me. And I hope that you would not see any negativity. I can't think of any reason why it shouldn't go forward as a very positive win situation for the village and all of the villagers. So I hope you'll move quickly on it. They've waited a long time, and you know, none of us are getting any younger, and I can't imagine any reason that anybody would be against this. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, so I'll pass to Peter Struck, please.
What do I do? Oh, so I'm speaking on behalf of myself, I think Deborah as well, and that's that the option that Sherry mentioned sounds like a very great option, subject to the Shulastanis finding it acceptable. It certainly would save them the cost of replacing the staircase that they already own, and if that's something to be worked out, but either Deborah and I are in support of either it being a public one or a private one, whichever staff and council would choose.
Thank you, Peter. All right, so I'll put your hand down here. Oh, I don't think I can. Thank you. All right, anybody else from the gallery?
Yeah, I'm back again. You know, one thing that might make this even more acceptable to all us taxpayers, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people who would donate, particularly the Shulastanis, to the project, because everybody benefits. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sherry. Perfect. All right, so with that, when the gallery feedback on this one subject. So I'll move it back to council for any comments, questions, and then we'll go to the vote. Anybody on council, comments or questions? No? All right, so I guess we're ready to vote. So we're voting on the amended motion, right? For us to receive this delegation as information and to refer it back to staff to bring a report back to council. Okay, so are all ready to vote? In favor? Who's in favor?
Aye.
All right. I don't see John Snell, Lisa Wilder.
Yeah,
Okay.
Counselor Snell voted in favor.
Okay, what about Councillor Wilder?
She's still working on getting her camera on. I just texted her, Your Worship.
Okay, Lisa
She votes in favor.
votes in favor. Okay. All right, so it carries and it is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shulustani, for your presentation, and will please bring the mayor back to the room. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Ross, you're on mute.
Hello,
And
everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. And I'll just advise you that Councillor Wilder is working on getting her camera up. So
Okay,
she's
all right.
on screen. Mhm.
Okay, and so we're now, I would presume we're now on item 5.
That's correct, 5.1.
Okay, so thank you, Acting Mayor Councillor Clark. And we're now on item 5, so it's 5.1. And Lorna, it's over to you, I believe.
Yes, Your Worship. And I have Chi from Brooke Cooney on tonight to speak to this report. Thank you, Chi.
Okay,
Thanks, Lorna. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may have, so my name is Chichi. I'm a senior planner with the Pooney Group, previously known as Pooney. You may have heard from my colleagues before, Dan and Laura, but this is my first time presenting to you this evening, so it's quite exciting. So we put together a memo for staff and for council's consideration. It's UBCM's grant opportunity for active transportation. So it's a $20,000 grant opportunity that can be used for future planning, land use planning purposes. And active transportation is, UBCM defines it as, all human powered forms of commuting. So walking, cycling, running, scootering, skateboarding, wheelchair, paddling, skiing, so you name it. The grant is an opportunity for small municipalities like Valterra to implement active transportation policies and incentives into their land use planning. So one thought was, with Valterra contemplating updating their official community plan in the near future, it could apply active transportation lens. So having policies that encourage active transportation uses, which results in all the good stuff like reducing greenhouse gases, better sustainability, more healthy community. So this memo that's in front of you this evening is asking for council's direction to apply for this grant, which is due on May 21st, 2021.
okay, great. Thank you very much, Chichi. Do we have, we've got a motion there. Do we want to move it and then open up the discussion? So I have Councillor Clark moving the motion and Councillor Drake seconding it. And that
Second,
motion,
yeah.
that motion is that staff be directed to submit an application for the Active Transportation Planning Program grant of up to $20,000. So council, any opening comments, and then we will go to the audience. Councillor Drake, please.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I think it makes eminent sense for us. We do have a priority of updating our official community plan, and there has been discussion, and it did make our list of priorities for this year to take steps to improve non-vehicle transportation in the village. Lord knows we have enough vehicle issues. So this is a great opportunity, in my opinion. So I don't see a downside to it.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. And any other speakers on council? Seeing none, we'll go out to the audience, and anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments. And I see I've got Sherry Chisholm with her automatic hand, and I saw that, so we're good. Thank you, Sherry.
I'm just wondering, how much will the grant cost us if we're successful in getting it? How much will the village have to pay? Or is it 100% grant?
Why don't I direct that through me to Chi-Chi, if that's all right? Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, I don't think I'll have a hard cost for you, but it'll take a couple of hours of staff's time to review the grant and to put the materials together. But we can, if Lorna would like, we can put together an estimate for that and get you an approximate estimate.
I would suggest that before we apply for 20,000 grant, that we find out how much it's going to cost us. I think that's important. And I also wonder, what is it we're studying? I mean, we don't have much room on our roads for anything but cars. So I'm not sure this study really applies to our village.
Your worship, if I could comment, that what she was referring to is that's 100% grant. And the only cost to the village would be staff, which would be a couple hours or, a few hours to put it together. And that the grant is to assist with our OCP review also.
Would there be any consultants involved in this?
So, Lorna, let me just clarify this part. Sherry asked a question about what would be the cost. And I think Chi-Chi and you have clarified that it's $20,000, and the staff cost of either staff or consultant would be minimal to do the grant for the application that's due on May 21st. So and I take that as a minimal cost, right? We're not talking about a 20,000 grant going down to $2,000. We're talking about, and let me just try this, because I wouldn't see it taking staff or consultant more than 2 days worth of time. And it may not even. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to kind of give some clarity to that. And then I believe, Sherry, you ask a second question through me to Lorna about what in fact does it actually benefit the village of Valterra. So why don't we, Lorna, do you want to give an answer to that in terms of, I think you started, right? In terms of we're doing the official community plan. I'll hand it over to you for a sec, okay?
Yes, well, it's quite a lengthy report, Your Worship, that is included in the agenda, but it will also provide funding for to update the official community plan for the village. So up until this point, until we found out about this grant, the village was going to assume that cost.
Right.
Now we would have the benefit of this quite substantial grant actually to assist with the updating the official community plan.
Okay. All right. And I think Sherry, did that, I think.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you very much.
Okay. And thank you for your two-part question. That was helpful too. Thank you. I think I have David Goodman. Are you on the list, or did you? You were on there for a second, maybe. Okay. So I'm not seeing that we have any more questions from the audience. So we'll go back to council, and it's in front of council right now. So council, we've got it moved on the table, correct? And it's open for any discussion by a councillor. Any councillor want to add on this? Okay, I'd make the quick comment that I appreciate staff and Chi-Chi and your group bringing it forward to us. I believe this is money that can go directly into something we're doing. When we did it in 2011, it wasn't particularly on the map, and now it is. And I'm hearing that it is able to be applied for these parts. And I went through and I started about 6 or 7 of them. It's quite a thorough report. But in addition, it's also available in a legitimate way to be used for our official community plan, as long as we get at those pieces. So for me, I'll be voting in the affirmative on this. I think it's a very good use. But any other councillors want to add? Okay, so not seeing any further questions, I'll put the question. All those in favor, raise their hand and aye.
Aye.
I've got 4, and then Lisa?
I think she's still having trouble, Your Worship.
Okay, so the vote carries in the affirmative of the 4 available councillors. Okay, so thank you. And Chi-Chi, thank you for coming and joining us, and your first time, I understand, addressing the group, and I really appreciate that. Thank you on behalf of council and the audience.
Great. Thanks, Mayor and Council. I'm sure I'll see you guys soon.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you. Okay. Now we have, moving on, Lorna, item 5.2, and you have a report dated May 10th, 2021 regarding use of the Village Hall parking lot that's come to council.
Yes, Your Worship. A letter was received by council that was sent in by a resident requesting closure of the parking lot at the Village Hall during busy weekends, and in particular this precarious time with COVID. So in my report, I've outlined the various reasons why the parking lot is actually used. And we know that the residents that live near the Village Hall certainly have used the parking lot when they've had renovations. And in fact, other residents have used it for that purpose too. And sometimes they will shuttle people from the Village Hall and back to their place if they don't have sufficient parking. And what's also really important is that construction crews and contractors park their vehicles in the Village Hall parking lot because lots of our roadways are narrow and might not provide for all of the vehicles that are needed for construction. There will always be a time when maybe a cement truck will come to do the pour or lumber's dropped off and that kind of thing. But if there's an excess of vehicles, we do try to encourage them to park in the village parking lot. And in addition to that, there are a few people who will occasionally ask if they may park in the village parking lot just for a few hours to go hiking. That doesn't happen very often anymore, and it isn't encouraged, but if people know about it and there isn't any problem with parking in the parking lot, we will allow it. We do always ask for people to put their contact information on the dash if vehicles are left for longer than they should. And once in a while, it may be someone who's going kayaking, and they will ask if they could leave their car here for the day or overnight, and they put their contact information on the dash.
Okay. And you, I think in your report, you indicated that you looked at some of our camera to give you some indication, and I think it was for 2 recent weekends. And
Correct.
And you had, I think, some Saturday, Sunday information that came forward. Did you want to review that also, just generally?
Sure, and we will do that on occasion. And if we look at, we've looked at the camera, we I think saw 6 vehicles one day and on a Saturday, and maybe none on the Sunday. And then the next weekend, the numbers were very similar. It's very different this year than last year with parking in the village. It doesn't seem I don't know, it seems like maybe the message is getting out. And so we don't have a lot of excessive parking. Also, I believe I did mention too that when parking was really extreme in the village, Coquitlam Towing was coming in and just towing cars to the village parking lot. And now Coquitlam Towing has opened up a new parking lot in Port Moody. So they wouldn't be towing vehicles to the village parking lot anymore either.
Okay. And one quick question is in your data that you gathered from the cameras, is the difference, do you attribute the difference between Saturday and Sunday to the prohibition of our current noise bylaw to Sunday work with construction people? Or is that just that it showed up that Sunday people aren't coming?
It just didn't, it just hasn't seemed to be that busy, your worship.
Okay.
Those were weekends when the weather was fairly nice.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there were not very many people parking in the village hall parking lot.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'll thank you for that report, and it's over to council. Lorna has staff has provided a motion that Councillor Clark.
Yes, thank you. Well, reading the report and you know, usually every, you know, because I've been working on this parking thing for so long, every sunny day, it doesn't need to be a weekend, I go around, I drive around the village and see it for myself where the red zones are, which is the busiest zones. The times that I have seen the parking lot full myself, it was when we were towing cars to there. So you know, so I do agree with the staff's recommendation of leaving as it is right now, because it serves its purpose for residents, for contractors, and residents, visitors, and all. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. My comments are that. Thank you.
Okay. Any Councillor Snell, please go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed, thank you. I noticed from Lorna's report that Coquitlam Towing now have a location in Port Moody. Does that now mean that anybody that does get their vehicle towed only has to make it as far as Port Moody? Because I believe the original compound for vehicles was actually somewhere over in the other side of the Portman Bridge. Is that correct?
Through to Lorna, please.
Yes, your worship. It wasn't across the Portman Bridge, but it was in Coquitlam, and it was quite a distance away, near maybe Schoolhouse Road, I believe. So now it's much closer, being in Port Moody, but traffic and parking has not been very extreme at all this year, and very few vehicles are being towed anymore.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Snell. So at this point, if we have a staff recommendation, if council's free to, if they would like to move that and second it, or alternatively, they could substitute a different motion. But if we have a mover and a seconder, that would then allow it to get it on the table, and then we could go out to the audience.
I'll move it.
Okay, so Councillor Clark moving it, and Councillor Drake, was it second?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so it's on the table, and now we've got it on the table, and let's go out and let's get some feedback before we finish off. So we've got I think I've got the Strucks, and then I've got someone named Waste, but we don't have a full name. So if maybe you could do that, and you could get back on if you can. Okay, so we'll go to the Strucks.
How do I?
Please.
Hi. Just for clarification on towing, during the last month, any cars that were towed down to Care Road, which is near the Portman Bridge. The lot in Port Moody down by Ioko town site has been discontinued for quite some time. So the current status is anything towed heads down to near the Portman.
Oh,
Okay,
Sorry, Your Worship, I just talked to my contact at Coquitlam Towing recently, and I thought they were parking there, so, or towing to that new site. I will reconfirm that with them.
Sure. So thank you for that information, and we'll, as Lorna said, we'll confirm it and we'll get it out to people. So appreciate that. Okay. So,
Your Worship, sorry, I would just comment if Mr. Struck is finished.
yeah,
Oh, there, Wace is on. He said he can't display his name. He's from 4172 Marine.
perfect. And I saw that and I was just going to
Yeah,
go to him.
okay,
So
good.
thank you. And thank you for turning in your camera, and appreciate that. You want to, you're muted right now.
Sorry.
That's
Thanks,
okay.
thanks, Mayor and Council and staff. Just a couple of points regarding the hall parking. We've had some success with the no parking except with permit signage at the entrance to the village. And people are kind of getting conditioned to that. So we have this allowance for parking that is widely known about, by the way. It's not just a few people that know about it. It's quite widely known about, that there's free parking and available at the village hall. And it is well used on sunny weekends. I can speak for that because we're directly across from the location. And you know, two weekends in April to look at that as a data sample is thin. But I do appreciate that we did at least have a look at it. And I know Carolina Clark said she makes the rounds and has a look as well. But it does get quite busy down at the yellow gate at the entrance to the Metro Vancouver Park, where we have clear signage that says no shore access. Unfortunately, the parking at the village hall facilitates precisely shore access. People come and drop their canoes, their kayaks, their rowboats, their crab traps, and then they go and park at the village hall, sometimes for a few hours, sometimes for the weekend. But it is well used. And the other thing that we're seeing in the summer, certainly last year, and it's going to go that way as the temperature heats up and the weather gets nicer. People picnicking, where there were a couple of fires down on the beach, barbecues, discarded diapers, COVID masks, garbage, sort of your run-of-the-mill garbage. All stuff that the residents in this little area are left to grab our trash pickers and go down and clean up. So I think we're sending a mixed message by saying no parking unless you have a permit in the village, and then allowing parking for free that people know about. And I think it does get confusing for folks. Is there parking or isn't there? There's parking that you can pay for over at the regional park, and we believe that's certainly appropriate. And I don't get this bit about residents and contractors. I have no difficulty with residents have permits. They have decals that they display in their windows. They can park at the village hall without difficulty. And I'm certain that they could make arrangements for their contractors to do same. So it's not issue with residents and contractors. Certainly they should be able to attend to that. But the non-residents that are taking advantage of the parking there and not treating the property here respectfully is really what the issue becomes. And I'll just leave it at that. And thank you for your time.
Okay, and thank you for your comments. I've got Jillian, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thanks. First, I should say that this year's signage at the front of the village is not only clearer, but more respectful, and really appreciate that. I feel that people understand it and don't get their backs up before they turn around. I wrote the letter to council about the suggestion that on busy weekends coming up, I did reference the weekends in April, for which I saw far greater numbers than what the village than what Lorna was able to report, and that may reflect more understanding of whose vehicles they were. Perhaps they weren't all visitors. Maybe they were, counselors in the office or something. But be that as it may, I saw, upwards of 9 on a Saturday, and there were more the next day at the time that I looked. I had also at the time I wrote the letter, it was right when we weren't supposed to be leaving our municipalities. The province had not yet kind of widened that bracket. Yeah. And so I had some concerns about that with respect to access to the beach, because last summer I saw some extremely distressing things on the public access, upwards of 45 people crammed into a high water line. It was a really high tide that day, and there was people trying to come out with their boats, people crammed up right up into that little tiny sliver of land there, and absolutely no social distancing. So as we, persist in this really difficult time with COVID, it has crossed my mind on more than one occasion that we're headed into these warmer weekends again. I was also quite specific in saying that, could the village either block off on busy weekends? I didn't say any other day of the week, and I don't think I've ever seen any contractor traffic up there on busy weekends. Residents, to my knowledge, can get sort of as many visitor stickers as they need on a temporary basis, should they have a number of people over, but that seems unlikely this year as well. And the second part of my letter, I don't think was addressed in the staff report. And that was last year, around the same kind of 45 people on the beach weekends, and the village also having, towed cars deposited there. There were a couple of weekends where I was so concerned. I mean, you've heard before some of my concerns around situations that we faced last year up on Bedwell Bay Road that were so extremely unsafe. I honestly didn't know how, how much longer I could go without seeing some kind of really, really dire crash. But what concerned me up there in the parking lot last year is I remember counting at least 30 cars in the parking lot, and there was no possible way that an emergency vehicle could have turned around in there. There were even vehicles parked in that little, the yellow striped area right in front of the hall. There were, this was the period when people were parking on the berm next to the ward as well. So this, in those early April weekends that were quite warm, when I started to see upwards of 9 vehicles up there, I was like, oh, we're in for it again. So one of the ideas that I had that I don't think was addressed in the staff report was, given, our lack of a income base in the village, would it be beyond comprehension to consider stipulating a very precise number of spaces up there that, kind of set a safety threshold for what could happen with emergency vehicles or otherwise, let's say 8 spots or 6 spots, but that it didn't contravene the larger context that we're dealing with right now, which is pay parking everywhere else and permit only parking in the village. We do see a lot of kayakers and people launching down here. They don't particularly bother me. I am bothered by the squatter boats out there though, who use that spot to park quite routinely. I can think of one who was very abusive toward the bylaw officer last year. And so, I just thought, well, not sure why we should be offering a kind of a loophole there for some traffic that may not be always in our best interest. And if it is in our best interest, then perhaps we should be getting the same income stream that the local areas are. Anyway, it's not the sword I'm going to die on, but I wanted to bring it up because it is of concern. And most of all, that weekend last year when we couldn't even get our own boats out of the water for the kind of phalanx of picnickers with a fire under the trees were preventing us from getting up. So anyway, that's really all I had to say about it.
Okay, thank you, Jillian, both for writing that letter and for going over in detail right now. I think there's, some good points that you've made. There's some similarities around our data on some days, and it is early in the season. And I appreciate you talking too about the difference between when the province first came out and then they started to modify that a little bit. So
Can I add just one thing I
sure.
forgot to say? And that is, since the permit parking has been in effect in the village, the number of squatter boats has been reduced from 14 to 4. And that is a direct result of their perceived access. Squatter boats occur where there is an access point. That's a known, it's a given. And because we have, at least in the minds of many squatters, eliminated their ability to park here and live here, that number has gone down. And I think we only saw one boat sink this winter.
Okay, good. Thank you for your observations. We're not finished on this yet, but I do have Councillor Snell. Now, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I would raise the question that if there is a lot of activity in the parking lot over the weekend, is there or would there be some concern, as there is access at the quiet end of that parking lot to the works and all the machinery and everything else we have up there? That might be a consideration for restricting access on the weekends, perhaps. I see that we have Stuart Novak on the line, and through the chair, I wonder what his concerns, if he does have concerns for the security of that area. Thank you.
Sure, that's a good point. So why don't we, if I could, Councillor Snell, let's send it to both Stuart Novak and Lorna Dysart, but maybe who'd like to go first?
Thank you, Your Worship. I can go first.
Okay, good.
Thank you. All I can respond to that is thus far we haven't had any issues with vehicles blocking public works access. Certainly, if there were any vehicles that were blocking that access, that would be a condition where we would consider towing.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Lorna, any comment on that, or?
Yes, Your Worship, I would just say that we have not had any incidents up at the yard
Okay.
with regard to public access. Yeah.
Sure. And we would have a camera angle on that, would we?
Just going through our hall, we have 2 cameras in
Yes.
the parking lot now, and so we would capture any vehicles. Mhm.
Okay, good. No, good point. Thank you, Councillor Snell. Did that capture your question? Oh, you're in.
Yes, it does. Thank you. I was more concerned not for the blocking of access to the works yard, but any theft from it.
Right.
But, I think the fact that it's covered by camera, that answers that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you for your question. And we have the Strucks. Welcome.
Hi there. My question would just be, if they're allowing free parking up there, what could the liability be if something happens to somebody there that's parked there? Let's say, yeah, just whatever. And if they turn around and decide to come after the village because the village has allowed them to park there, just to consider.
Sure, that's a good point. So that's probably more of a staff question around generally our risk management. So maybe if it's all right with you, I'll let Lorna, if she'd like to make a comment.
I don't imagine it would be any different than allowing, I don't know, quite frankly.
Okay.
When I think about it.
Sure. No, that's fair enough. And that's a good answer when you don't know. So
yeah, sorry.
I mean, that's a point Lorna, we could look into down the road though, on that.
I could do that. Sure.
Okay. So thank you, Deborah, for that. And I'm looking. Oh, Sherry, just one, sorry, when, okay. Peter, are you on now? And were you on before as a double and I didn't pick that up?
Deborah put her hand down. I put my hand up and I was waiting for my turn, but I think that Sherry's before me.
Okay, so thank you. And then we'll come back to you right after, okay? Sherry?
Good. I just wanted for information to let you all know that I thought all of the tow truck drivers from Coquitlam Towing didn't need a vehicle to be ticketed to mark it and tow it. And apparently not all of their drivers are able to do that. Last weekend, I spoke with one of the drivers and he was kind of frustrated because the cars weren't ticketed and he wasn't able to pull them away. So he was going sort of back to Coquitlam empty while there was 4 cars up there he wanted to take. So just a point that you might check on that.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
thank you for that. And I'll refer that to Lorna, or do you want to
Sure.
talk? Yeah,
No, that's fine. Thank you for that, Sherry. I'll follow up.
okay. Thanks, Sherry. And Peter, thank you. Go ahead, please.
So my comment to do with squatters using the Valterra Village Hall parking lot as part of how they do their squatting routine, that if anybody identifies a vehicle that's doing that, I think it should be reported to staff and council, and we should take care of it. That's ridiculous if anybody is squatting there and using our parking lot for that purpose.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your suggestion on that. Okay. Looking, I'm not seeing anybody else in the audience, so maybe we can. And oh, sorry. Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to speak? Okay, so let's go back to council. We've got that motion. It's been moved and seconded, and let's see what we can do with the addition of the comment. So open it up to council. Councillor Drake.
Thank you, Your Worship. Interested in the comments from Wace and Jillian. Obviously, they're close enough that they see that the party who's most directly impacted are examples of people that are most directly impacted. And on the other hand, when we look at the sort of uses that staff have cited for the hall area, those make sense to me as well. I guess a question I'd be interested in knowing if we were in a discussion, and effectively we are here, is what would the impact be of our shutting down parking access in there on weekends? Obviously, it's not going to pick up every case, and surely there must be some instances where people legitimately would want to use it on a weekend, but I'd be interested in staff comments on that. I'm not even sure how practical it is to shut it off, but I guess it's not that major an issue to put up a couple of stands on Friday night.
Okay, so your question, Bruce, through to Lorna, please.
Yes, Your Worship. I've already had a request. I'll answer this in 2 parts, I guess.
Okay.
Is it possible to block it off? I guess we could, but without a permanent type of gate there, I don't know how effective it would be, because if we just have stanchions, I think they could be moved. But just on the other side, I have had a request from a resident that if COVID permits, they are planning a wedding at home in August. And in those cases, we do allow residents to have their guests park in the village hall. And we've had this in the past, not this during COVID, of course. So then we do allow residents to have their guests park here, and then they shuttle them down to their home if it's too far to walk. So as I said, I've already had a request for August, which
just
tentative.
Yeah, just if I can follow up, just so I understand, Lorna, and I appreciate doing this kind of thing live is never that productive. It's certainly time consuming trying to work out a policy this way, but not always productive. In any event, so, but surely we do allow, I mean, a resident with a resident sticker can park anytime. They're not going to have a problem there. We do allow people to get temporary permits. And I appreciate it's more work, but if someone was doing a wedding or something like that, and they're going to shuttle people down, they could secure temporary permits. Again, there's labor involved in that. So I imagine we could accommodate that with some additional work. I'm just wondering if there's any way we can reduce the risk of these very large gatherings being facilitated on the foreshore on weekends.
Well, we still issue temporary permits.
Yeah.
It's fine. We do that for residents when they're having an event. Mhm.
Okay. Waste, hello. Will, Bruce, you're finished now?
I am, thank you.
Okay, and then I've got Waste. Go
Yeah,
ahead, please.
Nancy Johnston, yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to reiterate, it isn't sort of on the one hand and on the other hand, we completely support helping people out for weddings in August and having residents there and having contractors there. That's not the problem. We want to be good citizens. It's the other ones that have been stated. And to me, the real issue is if it persists as it is, it's inconsistent with the message at the front of the village.
okay. So thank you for your comments, and I appreciate that piece about contractors. That is an important piece with some of our roadways in particular. And the piece about weddings, I know people are waiting till roughly the May 21st weekend to hear the provincial health officer weigh in on weddings. And I know people are finding out if they're going to go to a wedding with 10, 20 or no one. So that's a piece that I think going forward we can do. The other part is I think Bruce identified it's a bit difficult doing that kind of committee work here. So maybe what we could do is Jillian, you're on. So as soon as I finish, we'll go to you and then we'll come back to council. And maybe council can move forward with a motion. And if they have requests of staff, rather than working it out here, we can get staff to go away and come back with potential suggestions or reasons why not. Okay, does that make sense? So, okay, Jillian, you want to go ahead?
Just briefly, I just wanted to say, I'd like to ensure that if that wedding does go ahead, that those guests do have a place to park. Because there's been, if they happened on one of those lovely weekends and that parking area was as it was last summer, there will be no space for anybody's wedding guests. So anyway, I'm just putting it out there.
Yep. No, that's helpful. So thank you on that piece. And I mean, we are away from weddings being allowed right now. And I think Lorna signaled that in August. So let's move back to council right now, and let's figure out what we can do on the issue right now, because we've got it on the table. So we've got the motion, it's moved, it's seconded. Is there further discussion from council? Councillor Snell, go ahead, please.
It's a difficult one. I would hate to do anything that would take the facility away from our residents to be able to use it on an overflow basis, whether it's weekend guests or whatever. So as has been said, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It is for the use of the villagers, I think is great, but how can you ensure it is the villagers that use it and no one else? So I think we probably need a little more discussion on the subject, a little more research perhaps. Thank you.
Okay. So I've got a motion that's moved and seconded. Councillor Clark.
Just a reminder too, regardless of which way we choose to go tonight, there will be still the public meeting about parking, right? Once we're more mid-season, and we will review that as well when we have that meeting then. And probably by then we'll have a better idea on how busy that parking lot could get, because right now we're really early in the season. We might not be getting busy now, but it might get super busy later, right? And we might decide to, it's getting too busy like all the time. So, so I just wanted to point that out. We can always go back and decide.
Okay.
I guess what I would like the ability for staff to do in the meantime, while this meeting doesn't happen, is for staff to, if they think it will be too busy, they look back in a camera on Friday and they think, no, it's just getting too busy. Then they could take upon themselves, I believe, to go and close that parking lot for the weekend. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Okay, so here's the challenge for council right now. I think those are good ideas, but we got a motion on the floor. And right now that motion is saying we hold on the plan. And the parking meeting, I think as it's scheduled right now, is towards the end of the season, right? So if we want to do an interim measure, if it's compatible with this, let's pass this motion and then do a request to staff that says, here's what we'd like you to do. Okay? Because I'm just worried that we're now on the second time around. It is a difficult issue. But Councillor Clark, am I right that when the meeting is scheduled right now, is that towards the end of the season? Is that correct?
I'll refer to the CAO, to Lorna, but my understanding is that mid-season, so prior to the end of the season. So, but I'll refer to Lorna, to the chair.
Yes, Your Worship, I believe, well, it depends on how quickly we move to the strategic planning list, but it's about mid-season, I would say.
Yeah, by where it is in that priority, right?
Yes.
Okay, so fair enough. Thank you for that, Carolina. That's okay. We'll see if there's Councillor Drake.
Yes, thank you. You're correct, Jamie, and we are looking at a difficult situation. I'm not sure there's an easy solution, but I'm going to vote in favor of the resolution we have. That's status quo. But I certainly take the comments that have been made suggesting we need to find a solution that discourages the sort of events those residents have had to deal with on some days in the last year. I mean, I agree. We don't want a situation where we're encouraging large numbers of people to be in an area that isn't effectively suited and managed by Metro to accommodate large groups. So I'm sensitive to that, but I think for the moment, we need to think through what options we may have, and I don't see quick and simple ones other than putting up some, barriers, temporary barriers with signage. We may get to that in the summer, but I don't think that's a solution right at the moment.
Okay. So we've got council, seeing that we have no hands, so I'll look to call the question. All right. All those in favor of the question, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay. All right. And the information that we've picked up in this, we've got Lorna has that. And as we move forward on a strategic plan, we have that meeting in an order. And it's also open if this council as a whole who created that strategic plan wants to adjust a bit. So anyways, it carries.
If I might comment, Your Worship,
Yes.
I just got a text from Lisa indicating she was voting aye on that.
Okay.
My understanding is she has audio and video on this meeting, but isn't obviously visible to us. And a couple of times I've tried to do a chat exchange with her, and my system tells me she's not on. So there are some problems there, but my understanding is she is in fact able to watch and hear. And if any of us I'm getting separate texts occasionally from her, I will report in comment she provides.
Okay, so let me go through to our Chief Administrative Officer. She is having technical difficulties and she's in contact with Bruce. And so if we get a declaration, are you fine accepting that?
Yes, because she's texting me also. So
Okay,
between
good.
the two of us, I think we will capture it. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. It suits me fine, but I just want to confirm with you. Okay, thank you. So the motion carries and we are now on to 5.3, please. And it's Lorna again, please.
Okay, Your Worship. Yes, as part of the budget process, Council did approve the upgrade to the Village Hall, and that was for up to $15,000. We do have a quote from Sea to Sky, and it is for just under $15,000. And that would provide an upgrade to the Village Hall for when we're back to normal council meetings, that we will be able to live stream council meetings and have much better communication, I would say,
Right.
for up in the hall. And so because of the size of the quote, even though I have the authority to approve it, I would really like to receive council endorsement of that expenditure.
Perfect. And I think that's great that even with your ability to do it, you brought it in front of council. We appreciate that. We have Councillor Drake, who's on right now too. Bruce, move the motion.
Yes, to get to discussion, I'll move the recommendation.
Okay. And Councillor Clark seconding it. Okay. So, okay, we'll head with that on the floor. We'll have that discussion starting with council. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yes, thank you very much. Lauren, I think it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing it forward. I just have a couple of questions. I mean, I take it as a given that what this will mean once it's in place, when people are on site, it will provide better audio and video quality to those residents who may want to sit in remotely. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mhm.
But a second question, because I know a lot of organizations are facing this in some ways, although we all love to disparage it, in some ways the use of Zoom has actually been effective because it does provide very good audio quality, frankly, and you can see individuals clearly, and the resulting recordings I find are quite useful, and not a lot of people, but some people do review them subsequently. So is any thought as to whether this will have hybrid capabilities? So for example, if we're having a live meeting, will it facilitate someone participating who's on electronically?
Yes, I'm not entirely sure that they would be visible, but there will be a way for them to communicate with us during the meeting.
With an audio commentary.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and yeah, okay, I guess that's it. I think it's something that's going to become much more common going forward. This seems to me like a reasonable investment, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Drake, and Councillor Clark. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Well, Councillor Drake asked some of the questions that I had. But I agree with all the comments he made. I think going forward, this is, you know, I guess we're going to be doing a lot of things on video, and even when we're not, I like the idea of having the residents being able to attend the meeting, even when we're meeting in person, and let's say for some reason they're overseas or they can make it to the meeting, or they're just feeling, let's say, lazy and don't want to relocate to the hall. I do like the idea of having some sort of technology that allows them to participate from home. I think that helps with transparency as well, because we talked so much about transparency back in 2018, you know, on giving the opportunity of people that cannot relocate to watch those meetings. I feel that ever since we've been meeting on Zoom, there has been more attendance. You know, most of the meetings, there has been more people attending the meetings electronically rather than going to the village hall. So I think it's given the COVID grant that we received and all that, I think that's a good investment. And I will go a bit further and say that, you know, and that might be another subject, but I'll just put it out there. I would like also to see part of this COVID grant being used on some sort of Survey Monkey installed on the website. And I think that would be a good addition to our website and get feedback on important matters, right? Through Survey Monkey, just a click away to give your opinions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark, and I just want to, people have talked on council about it. I think it's an excellent idea. It's a good use of our funds. But in addition, I think it's with COVID, we may be facing different things going forward. But in addition, I think the fact that, you know, as we age, and some of us at different ages have a challenge with mobility or whatever. I think the fact that people can access our meetings is absolutely a good thing. And when we get back to hybrid, to meetings and maybe even hybrid, I think if people can come, it inspires confidence in people to be able to come to meeting, not have to be there. They may have things at home they can handle and still be part of a community, still part of contribute. And the other part is that all good democratic organizations do extremely well when there's sunlight on them. So I think it's a really good thing to happen. Okay, so I'll yield the floor, and I think we're going now, if it's okay, I'm looking at council. Oh, Councillor Drake, are you?
Yeah, I did just want to make a comment,
Yeah.
Your Worship, and it
Sure.
is the second comment. Because the sort of issue that Carolina has raised reminds me that I'm involved with a global telecom group, and just to show how flexible this sort of thing becomes, I was on a 13-person call that was being chaired by a party based in Singapore. And the one thing Singapore has is exceptional mobile communications coverage. It's probably among the best in the world. But they also have very stringent restrictions around COVID issues. This party was given 2 hours to do his week's shopping. It was assigned to him at the very moment he was to chair the meeting. And he actually chaired the meeting with a headset on his head while he did his shopping. Now, hopefully we'll never get into that state, but I think we all need to bear in mind that the technology is going to be providing completely different modes of operation. And I think where we can provide opportunities such as you cite for those that are not comfortable coming down to the hall, that it's a wise investment. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Drake. And I'm now going to go out to the audience, and I see Sherry has her hand up, her real hand. So go ahead, Sherry.
No, it's here I am. But first of all, I'd like to ask, do you see any possibility in the near future that we'll get back to the hall for meetings? Real live meetings?
I would say yes, depending on how you define near future. I think we'll probably know in the next, I think after the May long weekend, we expect to hear something from the provincial health officer.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, but I would say, Sherry, and I listen to those. I think that there's a good chance that we will continue, even with the vaccination rate up, that we may not be able to go back. We still will need to practice. And one of those, the measures we've used with COVID will be to physically distance. So I'm actually in the main room of the hall right now, and there's not much room when we continue to apply those. So it may be a while down the road. And that's why I think this may in fact be a good investment if it needs to be stretched out more.
Good, thank you. Now, I think Jim would like to ask something.
Okay, does he have his real hand up too?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Question.
Welcome, Jim.
Bruce, on this one, did I understand that this new additional equipment is going to be for audio only, no video?
No, Jim, if I understood Lorna correctly, she was simply saying, I was curious as to whether someone could, I was hoping somehow we could mesh the benefits of this Zoom feature with live streaming from a live meeting. And I appreciate there are going to be some challenges there. I think what Lorna was telling me, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that a participant who was wanting to sit through the meeting but wasn't physically on site might not get a video display, for those people who are on site, but their audio could be played through. So you could ask your question, but we don't foresee, I guess, a screen on which your face would appear, as is the case right now, right on Zoom.
That's right, Your Worship, but the audience would be able to watch the council meeting live. But yeah, we may not be able to see them, but they'll be able to see us, and they would be able to communicate with us.
Yeah, which I think is a big plus.
Right.
Thank you.
And through to Lorna, is that the question that's being posed, is that also something as we go through, we can look to identify and see and report back to people? if you know, about what the capability of this is in terms of the questions being posed.
Right, but that is, yes, but that is the way it will be right now. And who knows, we may be able to provide an upgrade to that, but people will be able to watch council meetings live. Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, thank you. I'm looking at the audience right now. If anybody can put up, it's easier if they put up their hand. And so I'm going to look right now. I'm not seeing anybody. So let's go back to the council. And we've got that on the motion on the table, and it's been moved and seconded. And I'm not seeing any further discussion from council. So I'm going to put the question. Fair enough. All those in favor of the question, if you can raise your hand and say aye. I have 1, 2, 3,
Aye.
4, and we'll wait to hear on our 5th.
We got an aye from Lisa as well.
Okay, so the ayes carry and it's unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Snell. Okay. Moving forward, we have item 5.4 with Stuart with a report on the reflective cat's eyes road markers. So Stuart, did you want to give us a report before we move this on to the table, or?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Once again, this is for the reflective recessed cat-sized road markers, stretching for the full length of Bedwell Bay Road. It's all part of the previously approved TransLink grant, which is for up to $26,500, and which TransLink will pay 75% of, and we'll be paying approximately $6,625. And we received a bid from Scottish Line Painting, and we're asking for council to approve the quote.
Okay, Stuart, thank you very much for bringing that in front of us, and that information and that confirmation that comes in front of council to approve it if we do. And I think we've got someone to move it right now. I'll go to Councillor Clark. Am I correct?
So moved.
Okay, and looking for someone to second from council. Councillor Snell?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay, so the motion's on the table. Councillor Clark, would you like to open up on that, please?
Yes, please. Well, I have a couple of questions, I guess, for the chair to forward. Well, first I'm going to start with a comment. You know, we've had those cat eyes installed late when Bedwell Bay was Leslie, I guess, repaved, and those worked really well. However, are those cat eyes, are those the type that a plow truck could rip right off as we're cleaning the road? Or are those, because they're recessed, it would be harder to get it out? Because I think the problem that we have is that we keep on installing them and keep on losing them up on plowing.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, thank you, Stuart.
Yes, Councillor Clark. That's the major portion of the cost in this, because the roads are going to be ground down so that the cat's eyes are recessed, and then the idea is that they'll be below where the plow goes over them, and consequently won't knock them off. So we're very hopeful that these ones will last.
Okay, well, thanks, Stuart. Yeah, I really hope that, because, you know, without, obviously, without the public lights, I guess we have some street lights now, but without like full street lights everywhere, which I like, I like the dark personally, but without the lights, like, we really rely on the cat's eyes when it's raining, when it's dark out. It's, you know, it's a hard drive, especially when you're not used to. So I'm looking forward to see this coming forward. I'm really excited that it only adds to less than $7,000 on our share. I think is a great investment. And as long as, you know, they stay in when we plow the road, then wow, I'm all for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and not seeing anybody else on council, I'll just make the comment that I think this is a wonderful investment, and it's one where everybody's going to appreciate, but significantly people during the election. it seemed that it was the sleeper issue, and a lot of people identified it. And they also identified that they were getting older. And so they found as they were traversing the village at night, having those cat's eyes would be very helpful. So I think it's a wonderful investment, and the amount of money is great. And Stuart, again, thank you for bringing this back, and that the ability for council to actually take a grant, approve it, and move forward. Appreciate that. And so I will now move to, I believe we have the Strucks. So thank you. Go ahead, please. Peter, Deborah.
It's me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, cat's eyes works great, but I know like along our road and other places, we already have had the road ground out for them to be under, and they still haven't lasted long. So hopefully something can be done towards that, because that's what they did the last time, is set them into the road, and it didn't work very well. We find them at the sides of the road. Anyways, with regards to the amount that they're asking for, I'm confused as to why up to, when already they've said that with the grant, the village would only be paying what, about $7,000. So I don't know why the application wouldn't be for up to 10,000 rather than the full amount. So I'm just confused on that one. And beyond that, I'm just wondering if there isn't a better way. I know in some parts of California, which doesn't really get rain, but I'll tell you, when it does get rain and it's dark and rainy, they have the best road paint for lines. It is hugely reflective, and they don't use the cat's eyes, and it works wonders. So definitely it would be nice to have something, and that might be another route. And I have no idea what the paint is that they use there. So that's it.
Okay, so let me, Deborah, if I can, put that question through you to Stuart Novak. Stuart, can you respond on, there were a couple questions in there, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I'll just try to clarify the money portion of it. The estimation for the cat's eyes was around $26,500 originally. We applied to TransLink for funding of up to $26,500, and which, according to the terms of that grant, no matter what is approved, they'll pay 75% of. So they approved that grant, and then coincidentally, we got a quote that was very reflective of our previously approved grant funding, which is about $25,800. But it's approximate because we're estimating the amount of cat's eyes installations based on the length of the road. And there are actually some grindings there where we only need to install the cat's eyes. So that is only approximately $30 per installation for the cat's eyes in a previously ground and acceptably ground road reset. So that's why we can't be exact, but we're very, very close.
Okay. Thank you then. Councillor Drake.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And I appreciated the use of the term reflective there in Stuart's response. The further to Deborah's comment, I also can recall having cat's eyes. I don't know what it is, but they seem ultimately to be cursed. So hopefully they will succeed this time, but we've ground them in before, and they're certainly extremely useful at night. And hopefully these ones will last rather longer. I like the idea.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm not seeing any other questions from the audience, so we'll return on that back to council. And we've got the motion on the floor. Any?
There's a note, if I might, Jamie, there was a note from Lisa just asking whether she indicated that she didn't feel Stuart had covered all of the questions Deborah asked. That may have been the question of paint that's particularly reflective. That's all that occurs to me out of Deborah's comments.
Yeah, So my sense is we don't have paint, like this motion is about cat's eyes.
True.
So, we're gonna do the cat's eyes, and then if at some point we want to bring back paint, we should bring back paint, and then Deborah's done a wonderful job of foreshadowing that. Okay, but right now we're on cat's eyes, right? And we're only seeking to get cat's eyes, correct?
Indeed.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any further questions. I'm not seeing any further questions from council. So I will call the question. All those in council in favor, raise your hand and say aye. 1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4. And we'll wait for the ping to come.
Aye from Councillor Lisa.
Okay, so the ayes carry it, and I call it unanimous. So we're now going forward, and we're at 8:36. We're on the report from the mayor and council committee representatives. So I have one item on my report tonight, and that is that I want to thank all of council, each member of council, and our chief administrative officer, Lorna Dysart, for spending last Saturday, May 8th, from 9 till a little after noon. It went a little bit longer with the Metro Vancouver Council of Councils. And it's the first one I've ever attended that has been virtual. And I want to thank all the councilors for, and Lorna at the end of a long week, for coming and spending that time and spending it so engaged on behalf of the village. And it was interesting. My thought going into that, I always miss those car drives there together and the chance to talk to councilors. And I think Councillor Drake has talked about this. The reaction from the council meetings was incredibly positive, and people really just spontaneously at the end of the meeting commented how much they liked the format. They liked the Zoom element of it, and people felt really, really connected. And I don't think that they missed being with their colleagues or they missed that lovely breakfast, but they felt, yeah, people felt that too, but I think they felt the Zoom format was good. So it was very interesting to hear. So anyway, that's my comment. I just wanted to acknowledge the work done by all of council and the chief administrative officer. And if anybody has any questions, I'll take it. If not, we can move to any of the other councillor representatives who want to make a comment.
I'm sorry, your worship, unless if you're not finished that, you do have a motion for the next one.
Oh, right. I just didn't know if there were any comments, and then we'll go to the translate one.
Okay.
Because it just on the Council of Councils.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like people are fine, and then we have a motion, and this is for TransLink, and this is for that council would support the appointment of Councillor Wilder as alternate TransLink representative.
So moved.
I've got a mover, Councillor Drake. I've got a seconder, Councillor Clark. The motion's on the floor. And it's open for discussion to council. Councillor Clark, go ahead, please.
Yes, so just for clarity for the gallery, because I got asked this question today by a resident. So just for clarity, this is the TransLink board, right? And they didn't have alternate chairs in the past. This is something new, correct?
Pardon me?
They didn't have alternate chairs in the past for TransLink.
No, they have.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was the alternate before in the past 2 years?
So you,
I don't think
sorry. Let me take that question through to Lorna, and she can answer it. And if there's an additional answer that's needed or desired, I can add something. Go ahead, Lorna, please.
Okay. Sorry, I think Councillor Drake was able to answer this too. So probably for the first part of this term, there was not an alternate appointed. For previous councils, there have been. And frequently, I believe that was Councillor Drake.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, because that wasn't clear to me. That's why I was a bit confused. And no, I just got a question as to whether or not I would be the alternate for Metro Vancouver. Yeah, so it works this way, Jamie's the representative, the mayor's the representative for Metro Vancouver, representing Valterra. I would be the alternate chair when he can make it to a meeting. And then he would also be the representative for TransLink, and then Lisa Wilder will be the alternate chair. And in addition to that, I sit in some of the Metro committees, Metro Vancouver committees. And that was just for clarity, because I got that question, asked that question a couple of times since the agenda came out. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd be pleased to provide some more clarity on that. And Lorna, thank you for that answer. Councillor Drake, thank you for that answer. And I've been very consistent that I'm looking with our new council to move forward in a positive manner. But I wanted to make sure that for whatever reason, I don't know why an alternate wasn't appointed before, but I believe this, there will be times where that I may not be able to attend. And so I do not want Valterra to not be represented at a table. So Councillor Clark is, as she says, the alternate for my being a director on Metro. And with the, if this motion goes through, then Councillor Wilder will be the alternate. So Valterra will be covered. And it's my view that now and in the future, Valterra should always be covered. So thank you for that. And any other comments on that? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Quick comment. Thank you so much, Mayor Ross, and thanks for bringing this to council, because really the last 2 years I had no idea that we've been back then. So I apologize for my mistake. Back then that, you know, by the previous mayor, actually, that there was no alternates for TransLink. So I appreciate you bringing that to council, and I'm certainly glad to see Councillor Wilder's name here for the alternate. I think she did such a great job while we had no elected mayor prior to the by-election. So thank you. I'll be supportive of this. Thank you.
Perfect. So council's weighed in. This is one where we actually support, but let's, if anybody has a comment, general comment from the audience, we can, and then we'll come back to council. So looking at that, I'm not seeing any council, any comment from the gallery. And so let's come back to council. Any further comments? So I'll just make one very, very brief one. I want to, in advance of this vote, recognize Councillor Wilder for the work that she did, in particular to TransLink. And I want to thank her for being willing to accept this, and hopefully with the affirmative vote, she will continue to carry on that important work at TransLink when called upon. Okay, so not seeing any other discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And we'll probably get a ping.
Aye. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it's unanimous, and thank you very much. And we can now go on to any committee representatives if anybody wants to make any comments. Okay, so we will go on to we'll go on to number 7, bylaws. The 5-year 2021-2025 financial plan bylaw number 583/2021. And we'll look for a councillor to move it and a councillor to second it, please. Councillor Clark moving it, Councillor Snell seconding. It's on the floor for discussion to be adopted. Council? Okay, not seeing any right now. Anybody from the audience? Okay, it looks like we may be able to move quickly. I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll wait.
Aye from Lisa.
Okay, and it carries unanimously. Item 7.2, Village of Valterra 2021 tax rates bylaw number 584/2021. And the motion is that the Village of Valterra 2021 tax rates bylaw number 584/2021 be adopted. Looking for a mover. I have
So moved.
Councillor Drake, and I have Counselor Snell seconding it. It's on the table for discussion. Any discussion from council? I'm looking to the audience. Any discussion from the audience? I'm moving back, seeing none, to council, and it looks like we can call the question. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye from Lisa.
Okay, and I'll note that it is adopted and it's unanimous in the affirmative. Okay. Item number 7.3, Village of Valterra fees and charges bylaw, and it is that the Village of Valterra fees and charges bylaw number 517-2018, amendment bylaw number 585-2021 be adopted, and I'm looking to Councillor
I'll move.
Clark and to move it, and Councillor Drake to second it. Thank you. It's on the table for discussion. Any discussion from council? I'll move out to the audience. I'm not seeing anybody, so we'll move it back to council. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye.
Aye from Lisa.
Yeah, and I would call it, it carries in the affirmative and it's unanimous. Okay, so on to 7.4, and I'm going to ask Lorna if she could to outline this bylaw. Lorna, is that fine with you?
Yes, your worship.
Okay,
I would just like to note for council, because the question was raised about the short-term accommodation policy, and that policy will be brought back to council with a recommendation for an amendment to remove the portion about the insurance. However, it is okay for council to adopt this bylaw tonight because it states in the bylaw that from time to time, the short-term rental accommodation policy may be amended from time to time. Sorry, I said that twice. So the bylaw is fine. I just wanted council to be aware that the policy will be brought back to the next council meeting.
okay, thank you for that explanation, Lorna. Appreciate that. And we have that the Village of Valterra zoning bylaw number 510-218 amendment bylaw number 580-2021 be adopted. Looking for someone to move that. And I see Councillor Clark moving it, and I see Councillor Drake did you have your hand up? So it's now.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, good, thank you. And it's now on the table for discussion by council or comment by council. Anyone on council that would like to make any comments or any observations? Okay, seeing none, I will go to the audience, and I'm looking at the audience and not, so let me double check. I'm not seeing anybody. Okay, so we'll come back to council, and any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call, sorry, was there discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye from Lisa.
okay, and the affirmative is carried and it's unanimous. Okay, so we're now on to 7.5, Village of Valterra fees and charges bylaw number 517-2018, amendment bylaw number 581-2021 be adopted. Looking for a mover. I found a mover in Councillor Snell and a seconder in Councillor Drake. So any discussion on that from council? Moving out to our audience, and I'm not seeing anyone in the audience, so we can go back to council, and I'm seeing council is, looks like they're ready for me to call the question. So I'll call the question. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye from Lisa.
Okay, and I would note that it carries in the affirmative and it's unanimous. So we're now on to 7.6, Village of Valterra business bylaw number 227, 1995 Amendment Bylaw number 582, 2021 be adopted. And I'm looking for a counselor to move it. And I found Counselor Clark moving it and Counselor Drake seconding it. So it's now on the floor. Any discussion from council at this point? Seeing none, I'll go to the audience. Looking at the audience, I'm not seeing any. So I'll move back to council. Any discussion from the counselors? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye from Lisa.
Okay, and I would note that the affirmative carries and it is unanimous. Okay, so we're now on to correspondence and proclamations, and I have in front of me a motion that corresponded items 8.1 to 8.11 be received. Looking for that from council. Councillor Clark, Councillor Drake.
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconding it. Okay. And note that it's on the floor. Any discussions about receipt of it? Seeing none. Okay, we'll go to the audience. Not seeing any. We'll come back to council. We'll call that question. If in favor of being received, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye from Lisa.
Okay, and I would note that it passes in the affirmative and it is unanimous. Okay, so we have action items 8.1 from Sav Dhaliwal, Chair, Metro Vancouver Board, and Jack Froese, Chair, Zero Waste Committee, letter dated April 27, 2021. Regarding Metro Vancouver solid waste management plan. So we want to, you'll see staff is advising. Lorna, did you want to make any comments on that or with your advice that's there or?
Your worship, it's just that you see the request from Mr. Dhaliwal and the recommendation. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
The recommendation is that Mayor Ross and myself with another council member work on this matter and that Valterra representatives have the ability to connect with Metro Vancouver Zero Waste Panel members and that a time frame be obtained for participation. So we would be asking a council member to participate on this with us.
Perfect, good. So if council move that, we'll look for a council member and I'll have a few comments after that also in regards to what people in the audience can do. Councillor Clark, are you moving that?
Yeah, moving.
Okay, we've got a mover and we have a seconder with Councillor Snell. Thank you very much. So the motion's on the table and thank you for Lorna for covering that. Metro Vancouver is doing this and I think it's something being done on a very large scale and it looks like they've done a very good job setting it up. They've got a panel and they've got some very good people on the panel. They've got it's a panel that advises and consults. It's independent. They've got Andrea Reimer, who's the chair. She's a city councillor from 2002, 2018 in Vancouver. They have Cheryl Brooks, who's the vice chair. She's part of an Ingenuity Consulting Group. They work on Indigenous relations in the private and public sectors. They have Peter Fassbender, who will be well known to people. And they have Veronica Belicki, who's an engagement innovator. And Peter Fassbender has an exemplary work at all levels of elected office. And Jack Froese is the representative on that. But I wanted to put and acknowledge the work done by a lot of people in Valterra, staff and elected people, but in particularly by all of you that use our ward site. So in North America, 63% of the waste generated, that's what we do. And the North American average is 26.5. And as much as elected people set policy, they do things, the people that are doing and delivering those wonderful results that are reflected in our results in Valterra are the members of the public that so diligently go up over the years and have worked hard at that site to increase our levels. So I just wanted to indicate, and Paula is going to get a wonderful, there's a 43-second clip that you can go on, and it tells you about the things that Metro Vancouver is going to do it. It'll be up on our website tomorrow. You're welcome to do it. And in addition, there is a 3-minute survey to help set the engagement for this whole project. And we wanted to not only have a counselor, all counselors are welcome to do that survey, but we'll get hopefully one that will come on. And in addition, we would like to open up that survey to any of Valterra community members who would like to be part of that endeavor, wherever you are on that. We'd love for you to provide your input to the Metro Vancouver Committee. So having said that, any questions from council? Any questions from the audience? So, okay, we'll move back, and probably the question we have for council is, and it's not limited, but we would like, Lauren and I are going to kind of be that coordinating group. We would like one counselor to offer to come on board and be part of that group that communicates with Metro Van. Okay. Oh, sorry. Did someone on council?
Yeah, Lisa's indicated she would like to do it. Yeah, and I'm not looking for the opportunity, Jamie, but if you need somebody, I'll certainly do it. If Lisa's willing to do it, I think that's great. She's now
Okay.
apologized for the typos. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's great. And the survey, she'll help us with that ongoing, but the survey is available for anyone on council or anybody in the community. So I think we can thank you for that, Lisa, and Bruce for relaying it. And right now we've got Peter Struck. Oh, did you want to be on, Peter?
I was just going to ask how we get hold of the survey. Do we call Lorna for that, or is there some other method?
Lorna, do you want to go ahead?
Your worship, it'll be posted on the website tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, Peter. Okay, so seeing no further questions, we'll come back to council. We have a name and we have a plan, right, Lorna? So we're set. So we'll look to, not seeing any other questions from council, we'll look to call the question. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye from Lisa.
the affirmatives carry, and note that it is unanimous. Okay, so going on to item 8.2. And it's, we have that the Doris Ma Stand with Asians Coalition SWAC organizer email dated April 26, 2021, that council declare May 10th, 2021 as a day of action against anti-Asian racism.
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, we've got a mover, and do we have a seconder? Councillor Snell seconding it. Okay, so it's on the table for any discussion by council, and then okay, and seeing none at this point, we'll move out to our audience. Anybody in the audience? Okay, so we'll come back to council. Okay, anybody on council would like to speak? Okay. So I'll put up my hand. I'm certainly very supportive, as I know of many people in British Columbia. I mean, we've had some incredibly difficult, challenging times. during COVID-19. But I think for all of us to see what has come out in some parts of our communities in British Columbia has been, to say the word, disappointed and devastating would be an understatement. So I'm appreciative of, and I understand this, Doris resides in Burnaby, and she has single-handedly done this, and there have been celebrations all day and vigils and people coming together to essentially say on matters like this which side they want to stand with. So anyways, I will stop my comments there, and anybody on council, seeing none, we will look to call the question. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye
From Lisa.
and slipping in Councillor Clark. So, and I would say it's in the affirmative, and it carries, and it's 5 votes. Okay, thank you. Information items. We're now down to new business, I would call. And I would also note that we were looking to take a break right about now. But let's see if we can, are we all right forging ahead and seeing if we may be close?
Sure.
Okay, and if for some reason we're not and have miscalculated, we can make other plans quickly. So we're on new business. So Councillor Clark, please go ahead.
I have a new business, and that it's coming to a surprise to me because I just realized I should do that. I would like staff to look into adding SurveyMonkey to our website.
Okay.
To add the feasibility and how much it would cost, and if we can use the COVID grant for that. I think this will be a good opportunity for residents to give some feedback. Although I'm suggesting that, I understand that that's not a perfect system. It could be a system that you could vote from many times from different computers, many times from the same family. So I would like to see if there's I would just like to see if staff could come back with a report on that. And yeah, I'll start there and I'll stop now.
So you're moving that, and we'll look to get a second on that. But before we do, would it be SurveyMonkey and or a system similar to that? Do you want staff to maybe take a look at what's out there and come back with a report?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay, so if you want to move that, we'll look to see if there's a seconder from council. Anybody who would like to second that?
Lisa's commenting, just a minute.
Yeah, I think.
Just saying there, I think it's consistent with your observation, your worship, saying there are many systems. And certainly, well, I'll second for the sake of discussion.
Okay, so we've got it on the floor right now. So let's start. Thank you to both of you, Councillor Clark and Councillor Drake. So it's on the floor right now. Let's start off with council discussion, and Sherry, I've got your hand. Thank you. So Councillor Clark, did you want to open up, please?
Sure. So I think this will give us the opportunity of seeking feedback in whatever council decides to. Obviously, my understanding is that it's not a perfect system. That could be, I did SurveyMonkey on other municipalities' websites. So, so that's why I think it's a good idea to look into anything similar that would have better results in the sense of controlling who is going to the website and doing those surveys. I'm sure there you'll find a system out there that could be, some, like you send a password to each household, and each household has a password to complete the survey. But I think it's like a step on the right direction Since we're using technology to run our council meetings and all, I think this would be a good piece of technology to use in a general form. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Drake?
Yes, thank you. And I'll just note that Lisa had sent a note observing that there was a polling system used on the weekend Council of Councils that you referred to earlier, Your Worship. I believe it was called Pigeonhole or
It's called, yeah.
Keyhole. Pigeonhole or Keyhole, whatever. In any event, that seemed quite effective. I think it offers the potential for improved public engagement, which is always a good thing. At the same time, yeah, I have a lot of questions I'd want to be satisfied with respect to the effectiveness and the assurance that we're not getting multiple votes from a single source. In any event, that's I think it's worthwhile exploring. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Councillor Drake. And Sherry Chisholm, go ahead, please.
Hi there. I have no idea what this is. What does it do? Is something in communication?
If I might.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Sherry, my understanding, and Lisa will correct me if I'm, sorry, Carolina will correct me if I'm wrong. These are methods by which you can do online polling. So for example, on the weekend, when we were at the Council of Council session, the party making a presentation could cite 3 or 4 priorities that Metro Vancouver was considering and ask the 150 to 200 participants to indicate which they considered the most important of those. And and you've got an instant display of that. I don't see it, frankly. I mean, that type of capability, I don't see as immediately useful to us, but I think other polls, as you see in periodic sites, might be of value. So you could pose questions and then you got response from, for the sake of argument, 30% of the villages replied, and here's their reaction to it. I'm cautious about this sort of thing because, as you know, you're a regular council observers, many subjects take hours of discussion to offer your opinion after reading 3 lines. I don't think that should decide an issue, but it's certainly an input that's worth having.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting for such a small community. We have pretty immediate access and on opinions for sure.
Yes.
This sounds a little more than our little community might need, but I guess you guys will decide. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. And I think the intent of the motion right now, as it's on the floor, is to identify not only one system, but the possibility of a number. And I think get some feedback and probably not using that system right away, right? But just we'll come back because I think Councillor Drake has mentioned he's got some pieces around that and I certainly do, but I think it's worthy to take a look and to see if there's a system that will help us establish some things in our community. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think the motion that Councillor Clark put on the table was good because it's like I liked it, it's expensive. So anybody else out there? Not seeing any hands, so why don't we come back to council? Any comments, council? Okay, so I will call the question now. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Aye from Lisa.
Okay, so I would note that the affirmative carry and it's unanimous. Okay, so seeing no new business, thank you for that, Councillor Clark. We will go on to public question period and go ahead. We have anybody in the public that would like to pose a question of something that's on the agenda? Okay, I'm seeing that it may be unanimous. Sorry, I'm not seeing anybody identify on the, no one from the audience. So it looks like we'll go back to council, and it would be appropriate right now with a thank you to council and staff, but in particular, all the people that have joined us tonight, that the May 10th, 2021 regular meeting be adjourned at 9:10 PM.
So moved.
All those in favor? Okay, and I note that it is 4
Yep.
and
5.
5 in the affirmative. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight and participating in the council meeting. Have a good rest of your night and a good day tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
Nicely managed, nicely managed. Yeah.
Well, good job by everybody. Yep.